Today on What Went Wrong, we talk about what happens when you bite off a little more than you can chew. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've made over 40 feature films. And one of my dream projects, or I don't even know if you'd call it, what do you call it, a project or what, but is the Bad Mojo universe.
Right.
And it all comes from, the whole name comes from the Bad Mojo Graveyard scene, because when you said Bad Mojo Graveyard, that etched
with a
itself
look of
into
terror
my
upon
brain.
my face.
Yeah. So I had this story. It all comes down to a Neil Diamond song. A Neil Diamond song,
As most things do.
called Desiree, and this musical number, not even a real musical number, but it was these killers in a house. You know, it was a haunted house movie, but because I had just seen House on Haunted Hill or one of those movies, and there was a scene where this woman has a video camera and she's looking down a hall and she sees something. You know, it's like a little demon thing or something. What is that? And she's like, it cut back and forth, build the suspense, and all of a sudden in the camera you see it go and it speeds up and and like shades his face. And I was thinking, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, what if Hal Curtis was in that position? And he's sitting there at the end of the hallway, and this demon comes up. He goes, ah! And I just saw him going to town on this demon, just pulling out the guns, beating him to death. And the rest of the clan coming down, coming running down the steps and seeing him, just covered in blood. Screw the out of me.
Hal, you okay? I'm good.
So I wanted to make one of those horror films in a house with these killers.
Right.
And that was where the Desert Rose first came from. Rose. Okay. And they called her the Desert Rose. She wasn't an immortal back then. She was just a killer from the Middle East. But she would kill, she would get vampires or zombies or werewolves or anything, and she would rip out their hearts and stake the hearts on chairs or whatever. So it would look like Rose.
Oh!
So she got that nickname of becoming the Desert Rose.
See, I'd be like trying to ask her out.
Oh.
You know the thing you do with vampires?
that wound up being called Bad Mojo, and it was just a haunted house, killers in a haunted house movie. I think Ruby and Montoya were in it.
Probably.
And there was even that. I think Ruby in that version had gotten bitten by a vampire, so he was a vampire at the end. And so you can see how it's evolved over the years.
It went pretty crazy quick, didn't it?
So it evolved into the Bad Mojo Project, the organization that went out and handled these things.
The supernatural.
The supernatural. Thank you. We had made Barrio Angels, Shadow Dragon, Cartel Killers, Serial Rabbit. We were in that phase when we were making all those movies all at one time, and I decided, okay, because the whole Barrio Angels thing, the Last Blood trilogy, was supposed to kind of lead into it,
right?
And we were supposed to see Thomas Leos's character slowly get pulled into the project,
right?
So now it came time to throw Dub's character Thomas Leos into the project, and it was time for the Bad Mojo Project,
right? And
this script must have been, I'd have to go back and look, at least 180 pages, probably over 200. Just so much going on, because I was trying to get so much into it.
It's a mini series, buddy.
It is, and somewhere along the way, I've discovered that story needs to be told in a mini story setting. Now that you weren't in this one for very long, but this is really sort of the start of Kane.
Yeah.
Because me and Amanda at the time drove down who was playing Tara, drove down to Florida for the beach scene and some other training stuff,
right?
To get you in it,
right?
To have you,
and to go to Disney World,
and to go to Disney World, but
and Florida. Who wants to hang? Who would want to hang out on a beach in Florida for a couple of days?
So we were able to shoot a couple, and I do remember the beach scene. It had, there was so much wind. We dubbed those all that line later. We went back to your house and just read the lines. And then a little training scene on your patio, and that's where it first started.
You were asking me about Lilith and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now,
I was telling you were crazy.
Exactly.
She's dead. You're like, what if she's not? No, she's totally dead. She's not dead. She's dead. She's not dead. She's dead. She's not dead.
So there's I think if we're going to talk about what went wrong, I would say the start of it was biting off more than I could chew. It was a huge story.
Yeah.
That was also the story where we were embezzled by the nightclub. There was supposed to be this great, grandiose scene, and I actually found some footage of the first 5 minutes before we got kicked out of a scene, the big finale, and it wound up we didn't get any of those people back. We got like 6 people, and they were all teenagers and goths, and it wound up being a ridiculous fight scene. But Brad who had set everything up, had to go and deal with one of the actors because the actors needed new shoes for that character. So it was just Scott, me, and Amanda. When I think it was Scott that came to me after we had just finally gotten in after waiting outside for like 2 hours. Somebody came to me. I think it was Scott that said they're kicking us out. They want $800 for the air conditioning. It's like, well, where was this before? Where was all this? Apparently, so that caused a big rift between Brad and I for a while. We've talked about that in episodes. So, how do you deal with a situation like that? You get on set, and you just have to reschedule.
Yeah.
You are at that point.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do unless you want to shovel out that $800 at the time. But we're low budget filming. We don't have that.
If we had $800, we wouldn't be asking for.
Yeah, and if I had $800 to spend on location, it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah.
There's the matter of extortion on that movie, and then the effects. They weren't up to par. We were still using Final Cut Pro, and I think some of it was working in Motion. Yeah. Apple Motion didn't have After Effects at that time, so they were very, very cheesy and campy. And then I had so many subplots going on. We were trying to introduce Dub's character to the project, and I call it the Christmas Carol scenes, because as Dub is trying to make up his mind, people keep coming to the door, knocking on his door. Ruby came to his door, tried to get him, convince him. Scott came to the door as Hank, who Dub thought was dead, learns he's a werewolf. And then one of the characters from Barrio Angels that everybody thought was dead showed up at his door and gives him a speech. So there's like 3 scenes of trying to convince Doug in his apartment to join the project. Meanwhile, Tara and I are off chasing after Lilith, trying to track her down.
Right.
And then we've got Lilith's story tracking about her trying to find her way back into hell
and everything else like that.
Yeah. Introducing that was a big mistake. Introducing Lamach, it was a cool character. Introducing him and then killing him off.
Killing him.
And I was like, well, what the is the point of that?
Okay, Snoke, good job.
I could have taught Ryan Johnson a lesson.
Don't do that, Ryan. I never seen Star Wars.
There was that. And then we had to introduce Ruby and Montoya, and we did it in this big, epic Islamic vampire terrorist scene, which only made sense if you had seen
that
the original short film. So we were so dependent on the Bad Mojo project of everybody knowing and completely understanding everything that we had ever done before.
Probably not going to have a primer for people to go watch this movie. It's probably not the best way to set up your your film.
So, I mean, from scene 1, you're lost. What the hell is going on? And we never explained anything. It was always pointing to other movies. Well, I don't know what's going on. Go see this movie.
So basically, you were doing Frank Herbert's Dune.
Yes.
Shah Hulud. What the is going on?
Yeah.
Who's the floating fat man? What is happening here?
And then that was a great learning experience. And from DC could have learned, the DCEU could have learned a lot from us.
Yeah.
Because we were doing the cinematic universe before everybody else.
Yeah.
Iron Man was what, 2008, 2009.
2008.
We were doing these between 2004, 2006. Even if you go back to Night Watchman, 2002. Night Watchman had Ruby in it, and we knew that was.
You came to Florida in late 2004.
Yeah, and we were trying to make this cinematic universe, and we were figuring it out. And Bad Mojo was a great example of how DC failed. Look, we were following Thomas Leos. Right. Out of Cartel Killers, and that was sort of a priority. But now I'm trying to introduce Tara, and I'm giving her the backstory. We go to Florida, we have the flashback from there to explain the relationship between Mike and Tara. Then we're trying to introduce Rose a little bit, because we've seen a little bit of her in The Last Blood. Now we're giving this whole, thing. We've got, let's face it, The Innocent Saga is a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Ruby, Montoya, Rose, Hank, these are superheroes. But we tried to tell everybody's backstory in the Bad Mojo project, while also trying to tell this story about Lilith trying to open up a portal to hell.
So it wasn't actually a movie; it was a documentary about your world.
Yeah, that's a good example.
You should have just been talking over it the whole time.
Don't watch the movie; just watch the director commentary.
Andy Dufresne was having a rough time.
So and all the flashbacks with Rose and Lilith.
Seriously, you had flashbacks on flashbacks.
I think I did at one point. So
there was some serious flashbacking going on.
So we were trying to get people invested in all these characters. It was Bad Mojo Project was a feature film of the entire film was a bunch of act ones. That's all it was. It was just all these introductions to characters, and. Even as we were shooting, we were adding more and making it grow and trying to answer this question and that question. Yeah. So it just kept on growing. And then we had to reshoot some stuff because one actress left, and then we had to recast it. And then I do remember I'm trying to think if that was the first love scene that I ever shot with anyone. Dub. It was a scene. Dub was Dub and Krista Scott. She was the vampire seducing him, and goes back to his apartment, and they've got the fire burning, and Brad and I were rooming together at the time, and we were broken, so we didn't even have fire logs. So what's burning in the fireplace is actually a couple phone books. So just the little tidbit on that.
A little trivia for you.
A little bit of trivia. But I remember, for weeks building up to it, Dub, being Dub, man, I'm going to rock this scene. This is going to be a great scene. Oh, I can't wait, man. This is going to be great. I'm like giving him shit. You got to wear a sock on your right? Yeah. And he's like, oh, it's going to be the best love scene.
That explains so much.
Blah, blah, blah. And we get on set. And he devolves into a nervous.
All of a sudden, game time.
He's like, pulling me aside, you're right. This wasn't what I thought it was going to be. This is really weird. I just told you, dude.
So did you think we were just going to let you make out with her and film it? Because this is a movie, princess. This is nothing is real. Even the sex is fake. I know it's hard to believe.
Because she had duct tape on, we didn't have pasties, so we just put duct tape on. Because the duct tape's like the Force has a light side and dark side, holds the universe together. Yeah. So and then here we are directing them. Okay, now you got to do this. Okay, now what I need you to move your head to the right and expose the teeth. So we're going to make it grow. We've got to do an effect shot. So just stand there. Well, what am I doing? Well, and fall back.
Let me try.
Sorry, back towards that. You just kind of make a movement so it looks like you're grinding, but we're just doing the top. It's just right at her head, so you don't actually need to do that. Just give me a little bit of shoulder movement, and they're so awkward, you know, to both shoot.
They're very awkward. That's the whole. I mean, yeah. I've never done one, okay, but I know the concept. I know the story. I've hung out with your people, and so I've dealt with. And so it's very awkward, and they always talk about it being awkward. Is that you are mimicking or miming, if you will, a very super duper intimate act between two people, but it's two people and a crew watching it happen. And it's not
throw Brad into the mix.
Anytime you throw Brad, it fucks everything sideways. My God, Brad, really? But yeah. But anyway, you are not. You have to act like this is one of the most intimate things you're doing with a human being in front of an audience, and the things you're not actually getting to do it, so you can't even drive them out. You know, it's okay. I need you to move this way like 4 times.
Cut. I'm sorry. Take it again.
Okay, now I need you to turn this way. No, a little more. Put your head back. Meanwhile, you're like over this other human being or under this other person and trying to, you know, it's almost like, you know, working on a car, if you will, more than actually having a sex scene, because you're trying to do these weird contortions and put stuff in, you know. And you have to have a certain amount of trust in your other actors and your directors, blah, blah, blah. And if you're not used to it, as Dub obviously was not, if he's like, this is going to be so cool, I was like, I have to ask you, are you aware what's going to happen next whatever day it was? I mean, do you actually understand what we're doing here? You know, it's like he thought he was going to a football game, and instead we went, you know, and went in the woods and threw darts at a tree. I mean, he was not even close to what was going to be going on. He had this impression, which we're going to go play some games, and he was thinking, and what's no, buddy.
Yeah.
You might have, you as a director might have said, I can tell by your bravado that you might be a wee bit confused. But like I said, trust in the crew, trust in the actor, trust in whatever else. And I think you enjoyed it too much is why you let him keep going. I think that was you. I think you were pretty sure you're like, you knew that the time was gonna come and he's gonna go, you know, and he's not gonna be able to understand and he's gonna be all freaked out and trippy. You knew that was going to happen.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, and no, I did tell him because I kept on trying to explain. Brattle back.
He didn't want to listen.
I was always saying, no, dude, look, this isn't what you think.
It's not what you think. Well, that's different then.
Yeah,
but that's funny.
But in the back of my head, I was thinking, this is gonna be great.
It's one of those times when you're trying to help someone realize what's about to happen, but they're not listening to you, and so you in the back of your head, behind that part, you're just going. Anyway.
So you know, and I think that was.
But we digress.
Yeah. So yeah, any kind of, you know, the physical, you know, contact is you know,
mechanical.
Yeah, very mechanical.
It's a job.
So outside of that, so you know, it was wrought with just one thing after another, and because we just kept on piling on, putting more and more on it, which is, you know, what I've said about the Innocent Saga is it should have been a series all along. Same thing with the Bad Mojo project, and it's a great story that I still want to tell.
Yeah.
I love the characters. I love the things that happen. I love the themes that are around it. So you know, it's something that I will continue to move on and try to find that perfect venue for.
Right.
But just be aware when you're making that film to not bury yourself and get overwhelmed and try to do too much. It's one thing to be, you know, a complicated movie, you know. It's another to just not know where you're going.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with Bad Mojo Project. We didn't know where we were going with it.
It's a concept of, it's almost like baking a cake or baking anything. You have a certain number of ingredients you put in it. But if you just keep putting into it, after a while you completely lose whatever, and you're going to lose what you're trying to create. It's going to be something else completely. And probably not going to be very good. You know, if you add too much stuff into whatever it is you're making, there is a point. I mean, I love the food analogies like a pizza. I love me a pizza with all kinds of crazy shit on it. But after 4 or 5 ingredients, time to stop because it's just not going to work well together. It's not going to cook right. It's not going to do the other stuff, you know. A movie, is basically your little concoction that you're creating. If you keep throwing stuff on top of it and stuff on top of it and stuff on top of it, eventually you're going to have a very unwieldy mess on your hands. And everyone who's watching it is like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
You know, and if you have an audience going, what the hell is happening? You've done something wrong.
Yeah. And I think the first cut of Bad Mojo Project was over 2 hours long. And then, it had like 5 to 10 deleted scenes. You know? Now there are, if you look at it scene by scene by scene by scene, and just look at the scenes, I love the scenes. You know, the church scene at the end where we're walking off and we're getting ready to go, rescue Tara or take vengeance, for Tara. The scene where the empathy scene between Rose and I.
Yeah.
There's such cool banter between the two of us, because we're so awkward. The two characters, are so awkward around each other. They both hate each other and are put into this, oddly enough, an intimate situation where she's got to actually touch his chest,
and she's like,
and then feels emotions.
Yeah.
You can tell that we're like very uncomfortable.
So do I need to think of her or close my eyes or stand on my toes?
Why would you need to stand on your toes?
I don't know. I'm just a little uncomfortable here.
I'm not exactly having the time of my life either. I mean, you're a little annoying and I don't enjoy being this close to you.
well, Samara would make me nervous anyway. Hi.
And it's such a great, such great, banter. And,
Yeah,
and that,
it was.
that
It really
chemistry
was.
between them. And then some of the dialogue that Dub and I had, and even the Christmas Carol scenes where individually each one of them was cool, but you had all these great scenes and you just threw them into a pot. Going to your baking, and it was.
You can have a lot of great ingredients, but
Yeah.
you slam them together in the wrong. It's just like, what
Yeah,
the f- do we
take
have
your
here?
best pizza, the best pizza you ever had, the best burger you ever had, the best,
Birthday cake you
salsa,
ever had.
best birthday cake, best
throw it all in the
sundae,
same thing
Throw it
together.
all in a blender.
What the hell do we have here? We have a mistake, is what we have here.
Yeah, and that's what happened to Bad Mojo.
Yeah.
Now I will go back and I will be revisiting scenes.
Yeah,
and structuring
pull 'em
it
up, structuring
and
it.
I've done that. Is
Yeah.
just take a scene here and take a scene there and evolve it and bring it in. But yeah, just be aware that you're not biting off more than you can chew. And when and I think that was one of the things that we tried to do. We realized, well, this is turning into a monster. How are we going to fix this? Well, we just need to explain more. Put more in. It's like, well, here we go back to that blender, the pizza burger Sunday blender. It's like, oh, this is horrible. What is it? I don't know. It's really salty. Let's put some sour into it.
Sour. How about nachos? That's great. Throw nachos in there. Now it's a little salty. Ice cream. Ice cream will make it better. Like some Coke.
So, like we said it before, just try not to bite off more than you can
Take a
chew.
deep breath, look at it, and realize I'm trying to make what I'm trying to make. Let's not make something else.
Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I wrote the book on how to make a movie with no money. And here it is. See, it's got pictures and everything. So head on over to our website, notsosane.com, and get your digital or paperback copy today.